Have you seen that Sean Locke's died?
Yeah, I saw that today in work, and I was fucking upset. I love that guy.
Fucking savage, isn't it?
Yeah, I was
He's so
really
funny.
surprised.
8 out of 10 cats, he's well funny.
It came up as the the thumbnail, the notification on my phone, and when it said Sean Locke, I was like, oh my god, it better not be that he's fucking dead, because that's the only reason like he'd actually be in the news, apart from if he said something so racist that it got on the news. But he hasn't gone Frankie. But I couldn't believe it really, because he's just a classic. I think it's 8 out of 10 cats. He was on.
Yeah.
Is that the one with John Richardson? He was on.
8 out of 10 cats does count.
That one's very, very fun. Yeah, I used to watch them on YouTube. They had them on YouTube loads. Not that I should be disclosing.
I feel like
that.
Sean Locke's one of the most underrated comedians.
He's like
He was underrated, I think.
He's fantastic at being the team captain on a panel on a panel show, because he just everything's a joke. He speeds the conversation along. You know, if you've got some awkward celebrities on, like, he's perfect for that. There are a few people that do that really well, like Lee Mack. You know Lee Mack?
Yeah, they talk in sarcasm.
Yeah, and like he was just one of them. Just a supernatural guy. So that that was pretty savage actually.
I love Frankie Boyle.
Do you?
Frankie Boyle's jokes. He's such a savage to Scotland. The way he just rips them all.
I haven't watched any Frankie Boyle in ages. I didn't know he was still
about.
Still
he
about.
He kicked off BBC a while ago, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because he was saying, and I watched his interview, and he's saying to about how it's ridiculous Jeremy Clarkson's still working in the BBC for all the shit he says. But it's just because Clarkson with Top Gear used to make him so much money.
Oh yeah.
You know how much Top Gear used to generate? It
was the only thing I was allowed to stay up late for.
Really?
Mm-hmm. My mum tried to make me go to bed halfway through Top Gear once. It was fucking outrageous.
It wasn't on that. It wasn't even on that late, was it?
No, I just had to. I think it's like with your first couple kids, you really care, and then with the final two, you just literally throw all the rule book out the window and let them do what they want.
Mm. Do you think that's reflected in the turnout of the younger teams?
Maybe it's kept them younger. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. It says here, the Guardian says Top Gear's BBC global money spinner. Jeremy Clarkson's motoring shows worth $50 million a year to the corporation through the sale of DVD, books, live shows, and selling the series globally. It was in over here we are. Look, watched by an audience of 350 million people in 214 territories. This is back in 2015 when it was those three.
No way.
350 million. I think they're in the Guinness Book of World Records for most popular factual television program in the world.
No way.
If you can call it factual.
Yeah, hardly factual. I mean, this is kind of relevant to one or more things, but I watched, because I bought MX5 recently, their Middle Eastern special, because they have
James
to
has the
two-seater.
MX5 in it, don't they?
It's
very similar to your one actually.
One of them has a BMW Z3, one of them has an MX5, and the other Hammond has a little Fiat, which actually does really well, a Fiat Barchester or something like that.
That was in Syria.
Yeah, that was in Syria, and so they're having to navigate the political minefield that is the Middle East, and they attempt to sneak through. They're trying to prove that one of them says, "Oh, we won't get noticed, but if we go into this country," and then the others are like, "Yeah, we will."
Was it Jordan? Might have been Jordan.
Might have been Jordan. Might have been. I don't think it was Syria, although I think it was all right back then. But they as soon as they get into the country, they get mobbed by fans, and they're like, "You watch Top Gear, you watch Top Gear," and then it plays a scene of them just like smoking hookah while they're watching TV. Shisha, yeah, hookah pipe, shisha pipe, and it's them with honestly Middle East with Arabic dubbed over voices, and it's just quite a funny scene. No, but then I guess it's true,
My friends in Algeria, Yemen, everything, they all watch Top Gear. It's a weird thing.
It is weird, isn't it?
How famous they got.
It is weird, isn't it?
Yeah, they fell off though with Amazon, the Grand Tour. Have you watched any of it?
Still haven't watched Lockdown.
Lockdown's all right, but it's not I feel like they could have filmed in a couple of weeks. I don't know why they don't release very regularly at all anymore. As they rumoured, it was 160 million their deal to move across to Amazon. That's not bad, is it? Not a hefty number, but I think that's just the production money, but they each got paid less than that, obviously. I think Clarkson got
of course.
8 million a year, so right.
I mean, the reason they don't churn them out anymore is because it's just a bit dead, isn't it? It's just, you know, they've done it into the ground. My favourite ones used to be the cheap car challenges.
Yeah.
They were incredible, so much fun.
Because it was all natural.
Yeah.
Like, cars went wrong, and then like all the funny shit that happened, it wasn't planned. It was just spontaneous. When cars break and things happen with cars with your mates, it is quite funny.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, exactly. And there was a certain magic and naturalness to that changed in the later years. And I feel like I grew up as well. Like, it's a combination of me growing up and
Golden age.
them getting a bit shitter.
A little bit. I feel like it used to be so politically incorrect, though. There were things they just couldn't have on the shows now. Like, have you ever watched like one of the 2014 episodes or something? Just the way they just constantly take the piss. It's really quiet. The woke crowd wouldn't really allow that these days, I think.
I don't think so. They'd get in trouble for it for sure. But have you seen, like, there's this YouTube channel called Car Throttle?
I've heard of it.
It's quite fun. It's like Top Gear, but on YouTube with a much lower budget and some younger guys.
Yeah. Are they British or American?
They're British. They're British. So it is, you know, they go on Auto Trader, they go on Gumtree or whatever. They buy cars and they do challenges and this sort of thing. There's a few good ones in there. Like, I watched one about a camper van comparison where they literally they have a 40 grand budget to spend on a camper van, and they get like a VW T4, you know, those ones, like the transporter caravan, and then they buy like a Peugeot, like a sort of 04 Peugeot 205, and then like an 800 quid tent that goes on the roof, and then they go camping and compare the two. That one was quite good. There's a few good episodes. There's a few good like 20-minute videos in there.
The good thing about YouTube is they have like complete creative control. So some of these YouTube guys, when they blow up and they get quite a lot of money, they can just do some pretty interesting things.
Yeah, they can. There's much more freedom on that platform for sure.
Since you've got your motorhome, I bet you watch loads of those videos, don't you?
Yeah.
Perfect rebuild.
To be honest, like the truth is, like,
conversion.
I actually watched tons, like, before and in the lead up and in the winter, and now I don't watch so much. Like, if I need to know something, like, I've been doing the wiring recently. It looks like a sort of the brain of someone like with schizophrenia, the inside of my van, like the amount of wiring that's going round at the moment. And the electrical stuff's just, I made a negative block, terminal block. I don't know. It's just, it's
exciting.
It takes me forever because I still think electricity is magic.
It's magic, really.
But I just watch the odd really nerdy video now. I don't watch so many, just like completed van conversion tours. But they are great. People get obsessed with them, even if you're not converting a van. It's just an amazing little world. Yeah,
it's a project, but because it's not like mechanical, it's a lot of like building, you know, the benches.
It's DIY, a lot of woodworking, loads of woodworking.
As a male human, we do love a bit of DIY.
I love working with my hands. I love tangible achievements. You know, If you do a bunch of stuff on the computer, it's not like the same as when you build something with your hands and you stare at it afterwards. You go, shit, that I did that.
It's probably slightly more valuable these days, though, the way the big tech's going.
Yeah, for sure, but like the truth is like, you know, builders and tradesmen and contractors in the UK anyway, because there's just a lack of people going into that field at the moment. They're earning a lot more than they used to.
Really?
I mean, there is, yeah, pretty much, and there's so much work to be done after COVID as well, because a lot of the work halted. That you know, there's so much work going for these people at the moment that they're jacking up their prices. I have that on good authority.
With the Queen's speech, I read somewhere on the Financial Times, and basically the government's plan to sort of spend and build their way out of the recession that COVID hit. They're looking to. They've just relaxed loads of the red tape on planning permission and building places.
Have they?
Yeah. So all of the like property developing and like property and stuff, but the big companies is gonna go up a lot. Should kind of boom, but because they just lack of regulation. But surely more brown and greenfield sites are going to be at risk.
Yeah, for sure. And like you've got to think that what was it, COP26? I can't remember the name of it. And then this big intergovernmental panel on climate change document that there is going to be a bunch of new environmental laws. So things, you know, I thought things were getting more stringent, but yeah, we shall see. We shall see.
So
interesting.
Still no signs of details of the Prime Minister's clear plans. So Under the bill, the councils in England will have to designate land either for development or preservation, as the government aims to hit a national target of building more than 300,000 homes a year. The
Oh, wow.
Brexit state aid regime is meant to enable the government to be more nimble in supporting jobs.
Do you know why we're building so many new houses, even though the population is not going up very much?
Well, there's a housing shortage, isn't there?
Basically, yeah, because people want their own space. That's the main thing. Is like the average household size is getting smaller and smaller because that's what people are demanding, and family sizes are getting smaller. You know, people are having less kids, and so they still want a house to themselves. So the demand for housing is still going up disproportionately so to the population growth.
I want a house for myself, but it's crazy. I told you I read in the Bristol Live. The Bristol price for properties is £1,000. The average for a one-bedroom apartment is £1,100 a month. Like, who the fuck? No one can afford that. Coming out of university, starting lower down the rung. Like, the property prices are hella spenny.
I know. Well, I think that's the scary thing about us compared to our sort of the baby boomers, the '60s generation.
They had it easy.
That's what I like to think.
They won't admit it, but they did. My friend Charlie, well, I've said his name already. Basically, his dad.
My friend Charlie, who won't be mentioned.
Who may or may not be called Charlie. His dad got into Cambridge with ABC A-levels in the 80s. ABC.
It's as easy as 1, 2, 3 back then.
With that these days.
Yeah, I mean, it is harder to get those grades now these days. Oh my god, did you see the A-level results?
The inflation.
Giving like 40% or 80%, I can't remember, just this disgusting number of people getting A's and A stars.
Really?
Yeah, imagine, I mean, if you're the year before COVID and you got a B or a C, you must be absolutely livid. Because not only is the university going to be full of people that were given A's when they shouldn't have been, but also like you're going to lose out a little bit when it comes to jobs in the next couple of years. But
good lord. Okay, this is from The Guardian. The 2021 results table show that 44.3% of A-level entries in England were awarded one of the top grades, A-star or A. That's almost half. 44% are getting A-stars or A's.
And that just makes it impossible to stand out these days.
That is bullshit, isn't it?
If you look, I mean, another thing that'd be really interesting to look at is the difference between the average earnings and the average house price. So back in the 80s, like you'd buy your first house straight out of uni for about 15 grand or something like that. And nowadays the cheapest house is like 150 grand for an absolute shithole, unless you live somewhere that's already shit. Not going to name any names.
You have the inflation factor as well, because money was worth more back then because of the inflation. But even still, I think like one of my grandma's houses was like £15,000 or something, and it was like a big nice house. But that's the thing with the inflation, like if you just hold on to property for like 10-20 years, the value's going to soar. But obviously it's hard getting into the market at the time, actually having something.
Well, another reason why it's a little bit more difficult for people in their sort of 20s and 30s probably these days is that the people that were born in the 50s and 60s came after World War II, and there was a massive population boom. So if you look at a sort of demographic chart of how old sectors of the population are, it's very swollen towards
60, between 70 and 50.
Between 50 and 70 now, there's this big swollen mass that all need pensions that inevitably we are going to have to support. So that's an issue as well.
That was like what some of the conspiracy theorists were saying around COVID. Like, everyone knew we have this looming pension crisis. Yeah, who are all the old people that were dying in COVID? Like, all the old people. And, like, who did the government not protect very well? All the old people. Maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? Do you want to talk about Epstein?
Go on, then.
Basically, it's been reported... when Bill Gates split up with Melinda...
I do.
Financial Times reported the other day... that one of the main reasons, was in part because she wasn't happy with his regular meetings with a certain Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, that is so dodgy.
Dodgy as fuck, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I was listening today to a podcast where someone was saying that Bill Gates, was... a lot of people get suspicious of him because he would often, like... with his way of communicating is really poor. Like, for instance, with his like land acquisitions, like he'd buy huge tracts of land and never explain to anyone why he was doing it. So, I mean, that already suggests some pretty nefarious stuff. And Like, all of his charities, like, he funds this fantastic channel on YouTube called Kurzgesagt, which is like such interesting informational videos on such a large range of topics.
Yeah, when he works out
all sorts of theories. Yeah, it's really interesting. The animation's fantastic. But the point is that, so, like, you know, in the same way that Epstein hid behind it was Jimmy Savile hid behind doing such good charity work, and potentially, you know, Bill Gates is
philanthropy work.
Exactly, isn't it? I think these billionaires can hide behind philanthropy, and then they're just, you know, they square that.
You have the money to form your image. Like, it's a very carefully curated image, but once the breakup with him and his wife got announced, the fucking American press went after him. Yeah. They were uncovering all sorts about how, like, he used to host these parties with all these naked chicks and stuff. Like, yeah, when you see him...
There's nothing wrong with that, unless they're, you know, if they're older than 18 or
looking
16.
Innocent. Yeah, looking innocent as fuck in his little jumper. But you know he's the largest private landowner in America.
Well, there you go. That's crazy.
Wait, here we go. Let me Google it.
Yeah, it's
Okay, the Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates owns 242,000 acres of farmland in the US, making him the largest private farmland owner. An analyst by the Land Report found in January, and that was Business Insider.
Well, there you go. I mean, has he?
What's he doing with all this land?
Well, well, that's it. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Maybe he's really into sustainable farming. I doubt it, but I hope so.
Let's hope so, huh? Let's hope so. But back to Epstein. His article in the Financial Times was saying that in interviews with the journalist that had met him, he claimed he knew the Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman, like one of the most richest people in the world, one of the richest families, because his photograph is hanging on the wall with him. He said he could get you Vladimir Putin's number, any number of prominent Israelis, had high-profile friends in developing Africa, France, Britain, the Middle East, Japan and China. Oh.
Hey, wow.
Do you think you could actually get Putin's number, though?
Ooh.
Don't know about that. Maybe. Crazy if it is.
I think...
What's Putin got to do with him, though? Why does he want to know a disgrace?
I think this guy basically... I mean, if you work off communications and, like, you make a lot of money from basically introducing people and being a middleman and being a bit of a fraudster, which is what Epstein did. It's about the art of conversation and the art of...
Networks.
Yeah, the art of convincing someone and that sort of thing. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he could get a hold of Putin, but then I also would not be surprised if it's just a meaningless flex.
Yeah.
Because that's his power, that's what he does, you know.
He knows no one can prove it.
Exactly.
One of those ones.
He knows, yeah, exactly. He knows no one can prove it. He knows what he can work with. He's a pathological liar. You know, he probably believes his own lies at this point.
Master manipulator.
Well, probably doesn't because he's dead, but apart from that.
Is he dead? Maybe. He might not be. I mean, you've got to think, like, so some security or some hospital van driver that's taking the body out, you know, he could easily just pay them like 30 million.
When you've got that much money, he could be in Argentina right now.
They always say he's like a billionaire. He's actually only worth 500 mil, but it's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, what a pussy.
Exactly. Fraud, isn't he? I tell you what I was reading the other day. You know the Qatar royal family? Did we talk about this already?
Don't think so.
Yeah. Do you know how rich they are? The Qatar royal family are worth 260 billion. They own...
What?
Yeah. They own Harrods. They own the high-end shopping retail in London, Harrods. And they also own 8% of the UK stock market.
8%?
Yeah, I don't even know how you own part of the London Stock Exchange. But
do they mean of all the stocks on the market?
I don't know, because I
or
know,
of the stock market itself.
I don't know, because I know they have Sainsbury's shares. They own like 10% of Sainsbury's. This is way back in 2007. But yeah, I don't know why, but I'm really liking... they own 25% of Sainsbury's. This is back in 2007, but I really like learning about powerful families and shit at the minute.
Well, then you should watch. There's this fantastic HBO TV show.
How are you getting HBO?
I'll tell you later. It's called. It's called Dynasty, or oh my goodness.
Dynasty.
No, it's not. It's
Dynasty.
you keep talking while I
Is that right?
find. And it's basically about this mega wealth family and the politics within it, and it's so well done. It's so well done.
What did we say before? I think we said before about Lidl and their family there. The owners of Lidl and Audi.
Succession. It's called Succession, and it's so good. I implore you to watch it. It's incredible. Such a good show.
I will do. I will watch that.
Just really high quality drama.
High quality. I don't really like dramas. I don't know. I'm kind of weird. I always got to be watching documentaries, get some information.
Yeah, I wish I was like that.
No, you're pretty good with documentaries, aren't you?
I'm all right. I'm good at. When I do watch one, I remember it, but I wouldn't say I.
Well, I'm telling you, you need to get the Notebook. Makes a big difference. The news has kind of gone a little bit crazy with wildfires at the moment, hasn't it?
Well, it's got crazy with Afghanistan, and rightly so.
Do you think people are more watch the media, the news more now or less since COVID? Because it's definitely changed the.
I think at the start, loads of people watching the news.
People interact with the news have definitely changed since COVID. Definitely, I know far more people that are like, oh no, fuck the news. But I also know older people that read it more because I don't know. It's a weird one, isn't it? I don't think the news has changed this much in a long time, or the way we interact with the news.
I think people are more suspicious than ever, but I think at the start of COVID, a lot of people tuned into the news a lot, and a lot of people did it in a really unhealthy way. You know, they lie in bed at night, check on all the COVID updates and all this sort of stuff.
Daily death things.
Oh, yeah.
Why aren't they doing that for cancer or these other things? It's very strange. But it was those first 3 months when we were all just all fucking scared of it because we thought, we didn't know what the fuck it was. And I think that's when a lot of the behaviour was changed. But yeah, look at the Greek forest fires. Have you with the ferry? Let me see if I can find this on YouTube. Okay, yeah, look this. The in Greece there are these forests. Right, there we go. Listen to what I just found on the Times. China has announced a breakthrough in its quest to develop orbital power stations that can harvest energy from the sun and beam it back down to Earth. They're looking to make a kilometre-long solar panel satellites in space, and the ultimate aim is to launch giant satellites, possibly more than a mile long, that could collect sunlight 24 hours a day, unhindered by cloud cover. The energy would be converted into waves, which would be sent to ground level, receivers connected to the electricity grid, and hopefully to have a function by 2035. The idea was first sketched out in an American sci-fi author.
Oh wow!
And now they're trying to get it to work, but they don't know if it's going to work yet. By 2035.
All right, switch us on.
It's on.
Good. Yeah. No, that's exciting. That's a pretty radical move towards being sustainable, and also it's a move towards the colonization of other planets, which is
planetary species. That's what Elon wants, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's what all the rich guys dream about. Yeah, no, that's really interesting, and it. Well, I was watching this Kurzgesagt video, like we talked about earlier, where they were talking about the possible colonization of
Mars.
It wasn't Mars. It was one that was further away,
Jupiter,
closer to the sun. No, I think it's Jupiter on the rings. It's the one with a really long day. But basically, one of the steps would be before you introduce the bacteria that oxygenates the environment, the atmosphere, would be to build a giant mirror that would kind of orbit around, but basically it would deflect the right amount of sunlight to actually make the perfect temperature. And so I hope that if they can do this with the solar, then they can start to do that with the mirrors.
The mirror, is it like a satellite mirror, or is it on the actual...
It's a satellite mirror.
It's on the actual
It sits above the planet, in the sky, and
surely that'd have to be enormous.
Yeah, it would. It's. I mean, it's maybe for the next 1,000 or 2,000 years.
Oh, okay. Some super. What was that? You listened to that one?
Kurzgesagt.
What's that?
It's the Bill Gates Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation funds a lot of their videos. It's like the science and animation
Oh,
videos explaining theories, and the most recent one was like a deep dive into how the immune system actually works. I haven't watched that one yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
With the satellites, do you see that the US and the British were coming out condemning the Russians and the Chinese because they were like firing some sort of rockets in space and like blew up an old satellite?
Oh, really?
Actually mental. Yeah, wait. Let me try and find it.
Well, it's like space rubbish is going to be a big issue in the future. The amount of crap in orbit around our Earth is potentially going to hinder lots of things. Well, mainly rockets.
Yeah, look at this. The governments of Britain, Japan and Australia are voicing concerns over China's apparent test of an anti-satellite missile. The United States says China shot down one of its own aging weather satellites last week in a kind of target practice in low Earth orbit.
Oh, wow, they did it just to try out a weapon. That's quite savage.
Well, that's the thing. When Trump was talking about, having like the space military and stuff, his space division of the military, everyone was mocking him, but I feel like it's kind of the way to go. Look, it's 500 miles above the Earth. It's very much. That's in space.
I just feel like there's so much more important shit to be getting on with.
I feel like that as well.
It's such a like...
What, so all the rich people can go live on another planet?
Yeah, it's like... what you said last time we did a podcast, struck with me. It was something that Elon Musk said, that like, most of the most intelligent people end up going into either law or finance, which literally barely benefits society at all.
No, the brain drain.
Yeah, and so it's
internal brain drain.
Yeah, and therefore there's just so much wasted talent, and there's so much wasted energy going into silly things when there's so much more important stuff going on. But people's motives are people's motives, and you can't really change that apart from incentivizing them.
Needs fixing, like the climate change. Obviously, there's loads of different statistics around, but one of the ones I read in this book was that by the year 2080, climate change will cost the same as the entire world economy now.
Yeah,
the economy would have grown loads by then, 60 years, but even still, we think Corona was bad. Like, climate change is going to fuck us so much harder.
I know. It's so true. It's going to cost so much. And it's at this point, it's just people that ignore it and people that accept it because the science is there. I accept it.
Embrace it.
I don't want to embrace it, but I embrace the need for change.
Well, here's the thing. We're all going to have to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not.
If you don't make sacrifices, your children will have to.
Yeah, your children will be fucked. Your kids are definitely fucked the way things are going.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, things are getting a
little hairy.
A little bit hairy. Yeah. But I mean, it will benefit the UK weather, won't it? Are we just going to get warmer summers?
It'll be a lot more erratic, which actually isn't great for crops or anything like that. We'll have like really big dry spells. Terrible rain in winter.
Oh, remember from Clarkson's farm?
Yeah, exactly.
What were the statistics? They had like the wettest April on record, one of the driest
and then 3 months of completely no rain. Yeah, exactly. You just get, this is it. It just upsets the weather system and things get really erratic. People, they stopped calling it global warming a long time ago because it's not that simple.
No, it's global climate change. Because places will cool down as well, right?
Yeah. Everywhere will be affected differently, but they can't even predict the weather for the fucking weekend, so they're not going to be able to tell you exactly what's going to happen.
No chance of doing that. Well, apparently,
sea level rise is inevitable, which is gonna.
Miami's fucked.
Yeah, Miami's fucked. Bangladesh is fucked. Most of the Pacific Islands are fucked.
Some of those are already starting to go.
It's already a hell of a lot of people that are going to have to move or die.
The thing I like about is that the Netherlands, they push so much for we need to be like green energy, anti-climate change and stuff. It's like, yeah, because half their country is below sea level, below sea level. So of course you're going to be pushing this.
Guys, I think this is a really important issue for the world.
Screwed. But yeah. I read this in CNBC. Apparently China may align itself with the Taliban and try to exploit Afghanistan's rare earth metals, analysts warn. Rare earth metals in Afghanistan were estimated to be worth anywhere between $1 trillion and $3 trillion in 2020. Only hours after the Taliban overran Afghanistan, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman said Beijing was ready for friendly cooperation with Afghanistan.
No way.
Yeah, China.
It's lithium, isn't it?
Yeah, lithium.
Great.
I'm not sure what other metals, but they basically have these metals that are in like laptops, phones.
So Harry, you know you've got
everything.
stock. You're holding stock in XPeng, that Chinese.
Don't blow the stock up, Tom. It's gonna.
Well, you know.
double now.
So how do you
This
feel?
is
How
massively
do you
good.
feel about funding the Taliban?
Hmm?
How do you?
I mean, there's no clear evidence, but yeah.
Through the battery technology.
I do love the Chinese National Party, though. They are strong and mighty.
Yeah, oh my goodness. So CNBC is Chinese national news.
No, CNBC is the
The American one, I thought it was,
It's
yeah.
not Chinese national. It does. I get where you're going from, but yeah. So basically, they might be
CN.
doing some dodgy deals with the Afghans, trying to get that.
Of course
sweet,
they will.
Sweet lithium
Well, they're already taking over Africa.
and whatnot. Yeah, they invest loads in Africa. It's kind of scary, really.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, it's just one of those things. Really.
I know. We just need a way to, you know, it's sad because there were such different cultures and like the language is so different that like it's very hard to, you know, integrate with the Chinese. I just feel like, you know, a more global population that was less divided would be a better one. But
Well, that's what those astronauts say, isn't it? When they go into space and they look back, it's like there's no borders, there's no boundaries. We're all one.
wonder how many.
Just this
Wonder
landmass.
how many grams of weed they've got on the rocket.
Get high in space. Could you imagine that?
I think it'd just be incredibly scary.
Yeah, you could have a panic attack. You know,
Yeah.
those astronauts, they have to train to be like, if it fucks up and they're in that emergency capsule, leave the space station, they have to be in this tiny confined space for like a week until it can direct and fall back down to Earth. Like, you have to be seriously good in tight spaces to be an astronaut. Don't think it's worth it. That's why I didn't go, you know?
That's why when they called me, I said nah.
Not the grades, commitment, dedication, knowledge.
And just general luck. No,
Nope.
none of
Like
that
the
was a
tight
factor.
spaces. That's why I wasn't an astronaut, which is fair enough.
Sure, mate.
They never tell you like how to be an astronaut from school, though, do they? They don't really talk about jobs a lot at school, do they?
No, not at school. I was listening today actually. Apparently the like American and probably UK like sort of what they'd call high school education, you know, from 5 to 16, is just like nowhere near as rigorous as in like China or Russia. But then it's once you get to university level that we start like overtaking everyone.
Really? You think
Yeah.
the Russians have good schooling system?
Apparently, the Russians have a really good schooling system up until like 16. It's challenging. Do you know what I mean? They work them very hard, and then so you churn out a lot of people that are inevitably going to do good jobs. Like, well, you know, jobs very early on, but then you know, this is why the builders can charge so much money because everyone these days in the UK is dicking around with like a nice degree.
Have you been ripped
And there's
off
not
by
enough
building
jobs.
recently? You seem to have a bit of a thing, you know.
It's
It's ringing off a little bit.
it's come up. It's come up.
What happened?
I don't want to talk about it.
What happened?
No, I want to talk about
Come
it.
on.
God, is that my phone ringing?
This is a place for talking. Come on. What happened with the builder? Oh, you haven't got a house. Why did you have a builder problem? Huh? Tom, what's going on? You and these builders. Huh?
Just hearing about contractors and developing properties and shit.
Yeah, I see. No, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's
It can be awkward.
it can be. It can
Funny-
be.
there's funny things to
It's
people.
not as hard as easy as it used to be, basically.
Is that bureaucracy or just people?
Both.
Both.
I mean, well, it's mainly I think the banks. You know, like I think it used to be so much easier to get a loan than it used to
That
be.
story your dad told us.
That was
This
amazing,
guy-
wasn't it?
Was it in the 80s or 90s?
Yeah, literally turns up to the bank in like
cooperative bank.
the cooperative bank with a nice suit on and a nice accent and gets a like at the time like a £4 million loan
Which is probably worth like 15 million.
Yeah.
pounds
for a building on a piece of land, and he didn't even have planning permission for it. It's unbelievable. And today, like, oh my god, I tried to upgrade from I'd call it an upgrade, call it what you like. I tried to convert my student account to a graduate account.
Ooh.
It felt like I was being interviewed by the Gestapo. It was incredibly
Was that the
rigorous.
German secret police?
Yeah, they were pushing me about my earnings, just everything. Like that's like literally asking me so many weird, obscure questions, and I'm like, is this necessary?
You're just a dodgy guy, ain't you?
I
That's the problem.
literally just wanted to get a small overdraft.
It's how small? What are we talking?
But I want to get £1.5 just
Overdraft, just in case.
just in case.
Nice.
Well, £1.5 interest free, so that's what I want to get, just in case. Hopefully I won't use it, but it's nice to have a safety net when you're in education, isn't it?
Shit hits the fan,
Yeah, you never know, do you?
Happens, you get a call from your friend, he's in the shit.
Well, exactly. Well, I doubt somehow.
I don't know if you do that for your friend. So you're in the shit.
Yeah, exactly.
You call your friend, you're in the shit.
If I'm in trouble. Yeah, exactly. But and then you don't want to be in that situation where you then go, oh shit, and then the bank's like, well, you just give us like 6 weeks and we'll see what we can do. I'm like, no, I need it now.
Now, motherfucker.
Yeah, but they were like, oh, don't apply for the actual overdraft. I was able to convert it, and I'm like, well, it needs a couple of days to update. And then they were like, don't bother applying for the overdraft until you've actually started. I doubt they'll accept you. I was like, oh, you dickheads.
It's never the thing I like about the way our uni system's set up though is that we don't have a bank account where it's like minus £35,000, which is the debt we're actually in. And so it kind of feels like I know it's there, but I don't really sense it much.
I don't think about it very much at all.
To be paying it now anyway.
No, I don't care.
But some of the interest is savage. 5% annual interest. I read this article in the Times, and they're saying that like a 30 grand loan, people can pay back like £140,000.
Really?
Legit, because 5% over 20 years.
5% year on year.
Yeah, year on year. It's why like investment funds and stuff. The big ones with the big money may only make like 10 or 15% a year, but it's called compound interest. If you have the compound interest over like 10 or 15 years, bro, 2% a year for 10 or 15 years adds up, because it's not 2% of what you started with per year. It's 2%. If you've had 4 or 5 years of 2% before then, so it'd be like 15%
Yeah, it's like, oh my goodness, it reminds me of this really cool story about this. I don't think it's true, but it's like this man and the grains of rice on the chessboard.
Oh no, that's true. That's true. So it's the power of like doubling something.
Yeah, I don't know what the story is though.
I remember you said it.
So there's like
the guy asked the
Chinese emperor
for.
There's some sort of condition or something, but he basically says, "I'll do it if I can have, if on the first piece of the chess, on the first place on the chessboard, I have 1 grain of rice. Next one 2, next one 4, next one 8, next one 16. If I can have that many grains of rice, and that's more than all the rice in China, apparently."
Mm-hmm. Okay, it says here the back half of the chessboard is a reference to the old story about the inventor of chess. As the story goes, when chess was presented to a great king, the king offered the inventor any reward that he wanted. The inventor asked that a single grain of rice to be placed on the first square of the chessboard, then 2 grains on the second square, 4 grains on the third, and so on, doubling each time. The king, baffled by such a small prize for a wonderful game, immediately agreed and ordered the treasurer to pay the agreed upon sum. A week later, the inventor went before the king and asked why he had not received his reward. Blah blah blah. He was outraged. He had disobeyed him, summoned him to know. The treasurer explained that the sum could not be paid. By the time you go even halfway through the chessboard, the amount of grain required was more than the entire kingdom possessed.
Damn, son! What a great story.
Like a Chinese emperor back then. Did you really want to be like playing mind games with them, or?
No, you don't. Yeah, exactly.
Like you've embarrassed him.
Guess what? He just murdered you and you haven't got any fucking rice.
Good story, though.
Yeah, sad no one knows who the inventor of chess really is.
Is that true?
It is a good story. Honestly, I don't know. I would venture that it isn't true. It's still a fantastic story and I'll still keep telling it.
Well, they're not that sure. The earliest predecessor of the game probably originated in, guess a country?
China.
India, by the 7th century, from where it spread to Persia. Following the Arab invasion and conquest of Persia, chess was taken up by the Muslims, who substantially spread it across southern Europe.
Such a good game. What are we? We're 2-2, aren't we?
Yeah.
In our chess series.
No, it is brilliant. It's one of those games you have to appreciate the game, you have to play at least like 50, 60 games of it. And then you just realise the unbelievable levels. Like I could only think like maybe 2, 3 moves ahead at an absolute push.
Same.
Some of these chess masters,
they can tell you when it's over, and you're just looking at a board and you're like, what? Like it looks like 1,000 moves from over.
Mm-hmm. Well, did you see the AI? The chess played the computer. The world's greatest chess master played this computer but lost.
Oh really?
Mm-hmm. Because before, wait one sec. Before, like in the 80s, like the computer could never beat the chess player, but now it can. Can a computer beat? Here we go. Deep Blue won its first game against world champion Garry Kasparov in a game of in one of his 6-game match on 10th of February 1996. Deep Blue won 6 games, thereby winning the 6-game match 3.5 to 2.5. It's the first time a computer beat the world's best chess player, and that was in the fucking 96. Think how good the computers are going to be these days.
Can't believe that was back in 96. That's really impressive. I mean, I learned a little bit on a computer game growing up, and it was absolutely fantastic. Great fun.
Playing the computer.
Yeah, really fun.
I bet. The problem we have, you know what like quantum computing is?
No.
It's like super powerful computers. Okay, here we go. Quantum computer machines that use the properties of quantum physics to store data and perform computations. The basic blah 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 blah. Basically, the point of quantum computers is that they can work out sums that would take normal computers calculations thousands of years, and they can work it out in like minutes. But we don't
have numbers big enough to care.
Not necessarily numbers. It can be all sorts of like super complex problems. And they say that China are like one of the most. They're one of the leading the way in the quantum computing technology, and they reckon that if they get the quantum computer working and it's really effective, it can do things like economic and financial system, all of like the security codes and the way that the banks is protected. It could crack things like that in just minutes, and it could just have like if used badly, it could have like unbelievable effects on just everything really. If they wanted to use it as like a hacking weapon, which is pretty wild.
It's dangerous, mate.
Huawei
5G.
Dangerous. We were going to have that as like our network, was it, for our 5G, but then the UK pulled out eventually.
We did.
I think the Americans pressured us, so we pulled out.
It was going to be a lot cheaper, but China could have basically hacked us.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's uncomfortable knowing that they have complete control over their mobile services, and
that's the problem.
They also have control over ours.
Backdoors into everything, all of the companies, because they just have total power. Whereas like, if our government wants to get access into a company in the UK, you can't. You'll go through the courts, and there's only got to be public information, stuff like that. Should we wrap this up?
Jeez. Yeah.
Good.
Nice one.
Bonne nuit.
Bonne nuit.